Hey everybody, welcome back to another day on the stream. We've done SAT practice for the past couple of days and I wanted to do another broad topic that might be able to help some more of you. And so today we're going to be working on long division, and I've got a website that has several examples, so we'll be starting off with some basic single digit divisor questions that have no remainder, and then we'll do some harder ones that are like double-digit divisors with no remainder, and then I plan on doing some problems that do have remainders, so that way we can cover that subject as well. So remember, as always, if you have questions and you're here on the live stream, you can leave a comment in the chat and I'd be glad to help you with your specific questions. And also, if you're watching this video and you have some questions that I don't answer in this stream, or you have a subject that you'd like me to cover, leave a comment down below and I would be more than happy to do a video on that subject. More than happy. And I have to apologize in advance for any hammering noises because they're doing construction here in my apartment complex. Alright, I just tweeted that I'm live. Let's get started. Alright, so our first problem here is 304 divided by 8. And so when we're getting started with our long division problem, we are going to take our 8 and we're going to see if it can go into the digit on the left hand side or the biggest number column. So in this situation I'm going to use green here. In this situation 3 is our biggest place value. It's in the hundreds place value, so we need to ask ourselves, can 8 go into 3 right here? And it cannot go in an even number of times. 8 times 1 is 8. So 8 would be the smallest number that 8 can go into. So since 8 cannot go into 3 equally, we would put a 0 here. So 8 times 0, now we're going to multiply. Let's get rid of that arrow. I just erased the image. Let's re-upload that image. Okay. So 8 can't go into 3, so we're going to put a 0 here. 8 times 0 is 0. And then we're going to subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. They don't really give us very much space here to do some writing. And then we're going to bring the next place value down. It's right here. And then we'll ask ourselves, can 8 go into 30? And knowing our 8 times tables, 8 times 1, so knowing your times tables is very helpful for division. 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, and 8 times 4 is 32. So we need the closest one without going over, which is going to be 8 times 3. So we're going to put our 3 over this place value here, this 0, and then 3 times 8 is 24, and then we will subtract, and 30 minus 24 is 6, and then we're going to bring down our next place value down to here. And can 8 go into 64? Again, knowing your times tables are going to be really important for making long division easy for you. If you always need to go and look at a table or count all the way from 8 all the way up to whatever number this is, that's going to take you quite a long time. So I would recommend maybe getting some flashcards, making your own, finding an app on an iPad or something like that, or Android device, and practicing your times table so that way you know all of these in your head. And it's not necessarily, you're going to memorize them, but it's not going to be a memorization that you will soon forget, because you'll be using these times tables for your whole life probably. So I'll do this all the way to 10, so that way we have it next to us as a reference. So looks like the closest without going over is actually 64. So 8 times 8 is 64, so I put an 8 above this place number right here, above the 4. 8 times 8 is 64. We're going to subtract, and we're going to be left with 0. And once we're left with 0, we're done. There's no remainder. And so 304 divided by 8 is 038. Now, you've probably never seen the number 038 before, and that's because if there's a 0 in the hundreds place, it's insignificant and it does not need to be there. So 038 is the same number, or we could say it's equal to 38. So when we put this 0 here, it's just a placeholder for the long division problem to remind us that we have completed that step of the problem. And then we can just drop it in our final answer and get 38. And to check your long division, to be sure that you did things correctly, what you can do is do a multiplication problem. So 38 times 8 should equal 304. So 38 times 8 is 304. We can check that on a calculator real quick. I don't think this will pop up on stream here. 38 times 8, but it does check out to be 304. So we did our math correct. All right. Let's get this cleared off. Actually, no, we're going to leave that up. All right, let's switch to a different color for the next problem here. Just erase a little bit of this over here. Oh, it's going to erase that too, huh? We'll just rewrite that part. 6 into 72. All right, so we're going to ask ourselves, can the 6, which is on the outside of this division bar here, can the 6 go into the first place holder digit, which is 7? Can 6 go into 7? Yes, it can. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 is too big, so we're going to go 6 times 1 is 6, and then we'll subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1, and then we're going to bring the next place down to get 12, and then how many times can 6 go into 12? Again, knowing your times tables here is very important. 6 times 2 is 12, and I'll put the 2 above this 2 here, so that way my places are matching up. Let's do our multiplication. 2 times 6 is 12. Do our subtraction, and we get 0. Once we're at 0, we're done. There's no remainder. And 12 times 6 should equal 72. Let's do a little one-digit multiplication review. 6 times 2 is 12. We'll carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 1 plus 1 is 7. 72. So that works. All right, so next problem, can 2 go into 5? Yes, it can. how many times without going over? 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 3 is 6. So we're going to have 2, because that's the closest without going over. We'll put it over the 5. 2 times 2 is 4. Put that right underneath the 5, and then we're going to subtract 4 from 5. We'll get remainder of 1, and then we'll carry the next place down to get the next number that our divisor is going to go into, 18. 2 into 18, it can go in, let's see, 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times 7 is 14, 2 times 8 is 16, and 2 times 9 is 18, so it'll be 9. 9 times 2, put the 9 over the 8, 9 times 2 is 18, we'll put that right under our 18, do subtraction, 18 times 18 is 0, 0 remainder, and 29 times 2 should equal 58. 2 times 9 is 18, carry the 1, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Alright, next problem, 7 into 161. So we're going to take our divisor 7, ask ourselves, can it go into this first placeholder here? Can 7 go into 1? No, it cannot, because 7 times 1 is 7, which is more than 1. So we're going to put our 0 above the 1. Do our multiplication, 0 times 7 is 0. Do our subtraction, 1 minus 0 is 1. And carry down our next place. Again, knowing your multiplication tables here is going to make this really easy. So if these problems are taking you a long time, again, I'd suggest doing some flashcards or something to practice those multiplication tables, because that's going to make your life a lot easier for long division. How many times can 7 go into 16 without going over? It's going to be 2. 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 7 is 21, which was too big. We're going to subtract here. 16 minus 14 is 2. And we'll carry down the next place. It's a 1. How many times can 7 go into 21? I just said that one. 3 times. We'll put the 3 above the 1. Again, I'm matching my places up here each time very well with my notation. 3 times 7 is 21. We'll do the subtraction. 0 for a remainder, and we're done. And 23 times 7. 7 times 3 is 21. Carry the 2. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 2 is 16, is 161. 2 into 46. Can 2 go into this first number here? Again, we're going to go through the same process each time. Can 2 go into this first number? Yes, it can. How many times? 2. So we're going to put 2 here. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract the 4, we get a 0. Bring this down, it's a 6, and like I said before up here with our 0, 38 equals 38, 0, 6 is just equal to 6. How many times can 2 go into 6? 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. And we can put a 0 there just so that way they line up. 6 minus 6 is 0, and 23 times 2, we're getting a lot of single-digit multiplication practice in this video. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 2 is 4. So 23 times 2 does equal 46. So division is just multiplication in reverse. If you can do your multiplication and you have your skills down in multiplication, it's going to make your division a lot easier. Because when you're doing your multiplication, you need to have your addition skills down, because multiplication requires multiplication and addition. And division requires multiplication and subtraction. So you need to have those skills down to do your division. Can 5 go into this first number here, 8? Yes, it can. How many times without going over? Once. 5 times 1 is 5. Do our subtraction. 8 minus 5 is 3. And carry the 5 down. And how many times can 5 go into 35? That's going to be 7. 7 times 5 is 35. Do our subtraction, we get a 0, and that means that 17 times 5, 5 times 7 is 35, carry the 3, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. 7 into 133. Can 7 go into 1? No, it cannot. 7 times 1 is 7, which is more than 1. So we're going to have to put 0 here. 0 times 7 is 0. Do our subtraction. We get 1. Carry down the next place value. How many times can 7 go into 13 without going over? Only once, because 7 times 2 is 14, which is too big. 1 times 7 is 7. Do our subtraction. We get a 6. Carry down our next place. 3. How many times can 7 go into 63? It's going to be 9. 9 times 7 is 63. Do our subtraction. We get 0. 2 into 66. Oh, let's do our... So 0, 19 is 19. And that means that 19 times 7 should be 133. Let's check. 7 times 9 is 63. Carry the 6. And 7 times 1 is 7, plus 6 is 13. This 6 should probably be up there. Okay, 2 into 66. Can 2 go into 6? Yes. How many times without going over? 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Do our subtraction. 6 minus 6 is 0. And we'll carry down the next place value. Which is 6. Remember, 0, 6 is just 6. So how many times can it go in? 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Do our subtraction, and we get 0. And let's check. 33 times 2. 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. And finally, 7 into 231. Can 7 go into 2? No, 7 times 1 is 7, so that's too much. It goes over. So we're going to put our 0 above the 2. 0 times 7 is 0. Do our subtraction. We get a 2 and bring down the next place value, which is 23. How many times can 7 go into 23 without going over? 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. We'll do our subtraction. Have 2 left over, and we'll bring down the next place value. How many times can 7 go into 21? 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. Do our subtraction. 0 for a remainder. We're done. 0, 33 is just 33. And then let's do our multiplication to check that we got the right answer. 33 times 7. 7 times 3 is 21. Carry the 2. 7 times 3 is 21. Plus 2 is 23. So let's use our first one that we went through as our main example to get down our steps here. So we're going to ask ourselves, can our divisor go into, I think this is called division terms. The dividend. Yep. Alright, so we're going to ask ourselves, can the quotient go into the first place value of the dividend? Can divisor go into first place value of the dividend? If yes, how many times without going over? And if no, 0. And then we're going to write that number above the first place value and then we'll multiply divisor by that number and place it above the division bar multiply divisor write that number above first place value. Sorry, that's what we just did. Multiply the divisor by that number and write that below first place value. And then number 4, subtract first place, or sorry, subtract that number from the first place value, and then bring down next place value and repeat until 0 remainder. Alright, so let's make sure that our steps make sense here. So in 304 divided by 8, can 8 go into 3? Can the divisor go into the first place value of the dividend? Can 8 go into 3? No, it cannot. If yes, how many times without going over? If no, 0. No, so 0. So what do? I write that number above the first place value. I wrote the 0 above the 3, which was the first place value. Then I'm going to multiply the divisor by that number, 0 times 8. And what am I going to do with that? Write it below the first place value. Write the 0 below the 3. Then what do? Subtract that number from the first place value. So 3 minus 0. And then we get 3. And then what do? Bring down the next place value. Okay. And then repeat until 0 remainder. So can the divisor go into this number? Can 8 go into 30? Yes, it can. If yes, how many times without going over? 3. So 24. sorry, 3. So write that number above the first place value, or now we're on the second one, so we wrote it above the second place value. Multiply the divisor by that number and write it below the place values that you have down here. 3 times 8 is 24. We got that. Subtract that number. We got 6, and we brought down the next place value. So these steps right here, 1 through 5, are going to help you solve your long division problems. Now we're going to do some examples that are a little bit more challenging, with some larger divisors, but they will still have no remainder, and then we'll do some ones that have remainders. Alright? Again, if you have questions and you're here in the chat, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know if you have a problem that you want me to do, and I'll be happy to work on that for you. Or if you're catching this video from my channel and you're not watching live, then leave a comment down below if there's anything specific you want me to work on. Alright? Okay, next worksheet. Let's do some double digit. Make things more difficult for everyone. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get into some more advanced problems. And these ones, we'll have some strategies to try and work these out, okay? So 18 into 1,692. So can 18 go into 1? Same process that we've gone through. No, so we're going to have 0. 18 times 0 is 0. We'll subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. Carry down the 6. Can 18 go into 16? No. Another 0. Another 0. Subtract 16. Bring down this number. 169. Okay, so how many times can 18 go into 169 without going over? Most of us probably don't have our 18 times table memorized. So something that I always like to use in long division is multiplied by 10, because that is something that's really easy to memorize and just remember how to compute. So 18 times 10 is 180. Okay, so that's fairly close to 169, but so we went over. So what's 18? We have 18 times 10 is 180. What's 18 times 9? 18 times 9 is going to be 18 times 10 minus 18, right? So 18 times 9 is going to be 180 minus 18, or 162. And 162 is less than 169, so that was really easy to figure out. If you have a calculator, you can try to guess a number that you think it's going to be, and then you're able to compute it really quickly. Or if you're really good at your single-digit multiplication, you can do 18 times 9 really, really fast and get that answer. So we're going to do 9, and I'm going to write that above the 9. My zeros are a little big there, but this 9 is above this 9. 9 times 18 is 162. We'll subtract, get 7, and we'll carry this 2 down here, 72. 18 into 72. Another thing that I really like for long division is working with doubles, because if you can times something by 2, and then you can, it's really easy to figure out numbers like 18 times 2 is 36, 16 times 2 is 32. You know, you can figure those numbers out really quickly. You don't necessarily need to have your times table memorized to know that number. So 18 times 2 is 36, and if I'm looking at 36 and 72, I can realize a relationship between them. 36 times 2 is 72. So 36 plus 36 is 72. So if 18 times 2 is 36, and 36 plus 36 is 72, then that means that 18 times 4 is 72. Because this 36, you can substitute 18 times 2 in for this 36. And for this one too. So that'd be 18 times 2 plus 18 times 2, which is 18 times 4. So 4 times 18 is 72. We'll do our subtraction and get 0, no remainder. And then we can check to be sure our answer is correct by doing some double-digit multiplication. 94 times 18. So if you're doing this kind of long division, you should be able to do this kind of multiplication, no problem. So let's whip through this problem. 8 times 4 is 32, carry the 3. 8 times 9 is 72, plus 3 is 75. 0 for our placeholder. 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 9 is 9. We'll add those together, and we'll get 1,692, which is our answer there. Great. Okay, 16 into 70. Again, working with doubles here is something really easy to get some guess values worked out. So we got 16 times 2 is 32. And then 32 times 2 is 64. So that means that 16 times 4 is 64. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted by this construction outside. So 16 times 4 is 64, and if we added 16 to 64, that would get us 80, which is more than 70, so that's too much. So we're going to have, oh, sorry, we have to go through our process here first. Can 16 go into the first digit? No, it cannot. So 16 cannot go into 7 without going over. 16 times 0 is 0. Subtract, we'll get 7d. And we already worked that out. 16 times 4 is 64, which is the closest we can get without going over. We'll subtract those and get 6 left over. And bring down the next digit is a 4. Can 16 go into 64 evenly? Yes, it can. We just worked that out. 16 times 4. 4 times 16, 64. Subtract, get 0, no remainder. We're good. 44 times 16. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 4 is 24. Plus 2 is 26. Put our 0 for our placeholder. 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 4 is 4. Do our addition. 4, 10, carry the 1, 6, 7. 704. We have the correct answer. Excellent. Alright, so let's work with our next one. 10. 10 is a really easy number to divide with because multiplying 10 by anything is something that's really easy to remember how to compute. 10 times 10, 100. 10 times 20, 200, etc., etc., you know? So can 10 go into 7? Nope, we'll write a 0. 10 times 0 is 0. Do our subtraction, we'll get 77. How many times can 10 go into 77? 7 times without going over. 70, subtract 7, 0, and then that will go in 7 times. 70, 0 remainder. Alright, 17 into 1,122. Can 17 go into 1? It cannot. 0 times 17 is 0. Do our subtraction. 1, bring down the next place value. 1. Can 17 go into 11? No. So we'll put another 0. 0 times 17. 0. Do our subtraction. 1, 1, 2. So how many times can 17 go into 112 without going over? So another strategy that I like to use, I told you I like to use multiply by 10 and multiply by doubles. So if we know what 17 times 10 is, which is 170, then we can say, okay, what's half of 170? And that will give us what 17 times 5 is. So half of 170 would be 85. So 17 times 5 is going to be 85. And you're like, okay, that's kind of close. So let's see, 17 times 2 is 34. So let's try and add those two together. 119. So that's too much. That would be 17 times 7. So we'll have to go with 17 times 6. Now you can do your multiplication on the fly here. 6 times 7 is 42. We'll write down the 2, carry the 4. And 6 times 1 is 6 plus 4 is 10. And then we'll do our subtraction. We'll get 10. I always like to write arrows here because if not, I get confused of which place value I'm on. So we'll get 102 here, and we know what that is. It's going to be 6. 6 times 17 is 102. We just did that. We'll subtract, get 0. Excellent. Okay. Another one with 10, I think I'm just going to skip over that one because 10 is pretty easy to divide with, so let's go straight to number 6. 14 into 728. Can 14 go into the first place value? 7. No, it cannot. So we'll write 0. 0 times 14 is 0. Let's do subtraction. 7 minus 0 is 7. And we'll carry down the 2. And I'm going to write my arrows on this one. How many times can 14 go into 72? Another thing that we can do is we can just guess a number and do our multiplication on the fly. Now our work might get a little bit messy, but if we get it right, then that'll be good, you know? So let's see, how about, what do we want to do? Let's do 5. Let's see if 5 works. My pen is not working. There we go. We went back a step. Can 14 go into 72? Right, we're going to carry the 2 down. And we guessed 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. 72 minus 70 is 2. Carry down the 8. Can 14 go into 28? Yes, it can. How many times without going over? 2. 2 times 14 is 28. We'll do the subtraction. 0 remainder. 16 into 912. Let's change colors here. Can 16 go into 9? No, it cannot. So we write a 0. 0 times 16 is 0. You really get a lot of work with your 0 multiplication table, and you'll always remember that anything times 0 is 0 when you're done with long division. 9 minus 0 is 9. Carry down the next place value, 91. How many times can 16 go into 91? Let's make a guess again. Well, let's use this one that I taught you before. 16 times 10 is 160, so half of that is 80. 16 times 5 is 180. Or not 180, excuse me, sorry, 80. And if we added 16 to that, that would be 96, which would be too much. So 16 times 5 is going to be our answer here. 5 times 16 is 80, like I just showed. Subtract, you'll get 11, and you'll bring down this number, 112. So another thing that I like to do is, we already got 80. So what's the difference between 80 and 112? Because 112 is the new number that I have here now. Is there some kind of association with 112 and 80? That would mean that 112 is equally divisible by 16 just like 80 is? So what's the difference between 112 and 80? 112 minus 80 is 32. Okay, and 32 is that divisible by 16? Yes, it is. 32 divided by 2 is 16. So that means if we increase our factor that we're multiplying by 2, then we would get 112. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 times 6, 42. Carry the 4. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 4 is 11. 0. So long division, to get faster at these problems, you really need to start looking at every number and trying to think, how do I get as close to that number as possible with your divisor, and if that number would be equally divisible by your divisor. And if you can start to think about numbers like that, you'll be able to compute these faster. And like we've done, you can do guess and check. You can do the 18 times 10 and build a times table kind of up and down from there, like 18 times 9, 18 times 11, etc. You might have to do some guess and check or building some multiplication tables, but the more you can think about this in your head, the faster you're going to be able to do these problems. So if you have some kind of standardized test where speed is a thing for you, then start to memorize your multiplication tables for sure. But if speed isn't a thing, then you can do these building your times table things that we did here and earlier in the session. All right, 11 into 935. 11 is another easy number to multiply by as long as it's less than 10. You know, 11 times 8 is 88, times 9 is 99, etc. So can 11 go into 9? No, it can't. We'll put a 0 here. 0 times 11 is 0. 9 minus 0 is 9. Carry down our 3. How many times can 11 go into 93? 8 times. 8 times 11 is 88. Subtract, we'll get 5. 5. So bring this 5 down. And that will go in 5 times 5 times 11 is 55. Subtract, no remainder. 17 into 1,428. Can 17 go into 1? No, it cannot. 0 times 17 is 0. Subtract, we get a 1. Bring down the 4. Can it go into 14? No, it cannot. Another 0. Another 0. 1, 4, 2. 17. Let's just guess a number. Let's do 7. 7 times 7 is 49. There's a 4. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 4 is 11. I think that's going to be too small. So let's try 8. 8 times 7 is 56. 5. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 5 is 13. That's much closer. 7 and 8. Can 17 go to 78? Oh, excuse me. Yes, it can. Question is how many times? 51. 8 times 7 is 56. 5. 78. Let's see. 17 times 4. Let's try 4. Let's try 4. See if that works. 4 times 7 is 28. We'll move the 78 up here. 4 times 7 is 28. Carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. And that would give us 10 for a remainder. Did I do something incorrect on this problem? Let me check on a calculator. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I did 142 minus 136 is 7, but it's 6. So this should be 68. And we got 68 when we multiplied, so the remainder would be 0. Okay. So that's part 2 complete. So before I clear this off, let's just kind of review some of the strategies that we went through. One strategy was multiply by 10. And then another strategy was, obviously, you can build a multiplication table. It becomes pretty big task when you have, you got to have a multiplication table for 1 through like 17. That's a lot. That's a big table. So maybe you can find one on the internet that's already completed to kind of help you reference your math facts. Another one was doubles and quadruples, because it's easy just to double something and then double it again, and that will get you times 2 and times 4. Another one was multiplying by 10 and then take half. And then another one was guess and check. Guess and check always works. And then if you remember this association here, associations between numbers in the problem. So like 16 times 5 was 80, and 112 was 32 more than 80, which was also divisible by 16. So 112 is divisible by 16. So if you can associate those numbers. So that's lots of strategies for you to be able to use. The most reliable one will probably be guess and check. Building a multiplication table will help you complete problems the fastest, but on a test, you probably won't have a multiplication table. So that's why strategies like multiplying by 10, doubles and quadruples, and multiplying by 10 and taking half, and the associations between the numbers, those will all help you on a test because you won't have a reference sheet. Alright, let's move on to some that have remainders. Okay, we can go over remainders. We'll do an easy sheet with remainders. And if you have any questions and you're here on the live stream, feel free to leave a comment in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer your specific questions. But if not, I'm just going to keep going through these problems here, and then we'll have a little how-to video for long division for you all. We're going to have to clear this image off because I didn't confirm it and then I left the page. Alright, so for our first part, all of the numbers went in equally with 0 remainder. And so the quotient, or the answer, was a whole number. Now, in this portion, our answer is going to have a remainder. And our answer could either be expressed as a whole number with a remainder, kind of written like 2 remainder 3, or, well, the remainder wouldn't be 3. The remainder wouldn't be bigger than the quotient. That doesn't work. Oh, man, I just erased the image again. Okay. So we would have something like 3 remainder 2, or it could be expressed as a mixed number, 3 and 2 thirds. Either of those would be acceptable answers in my math class. Alright, so let's go through these problems, same process we've been going through. Can 8 go into 3? No, it cannot, so we'll write a 0. 0 times 8 is 0. Do our subtraction. Get 3. Carry down this 0 here. I'm going to go a little bit faster. If you need some instructions on how to do the division, I went a little bit slower earlier in the stream, so you can rewind in the stream, and I go a little bit slower there, and there's some explanation of the steps here. I'm going to go a little bit faster because I've already explained that. Can 8 go into 30? How many times without going over? 3 times 8 is 24. Subtract, get 6, bring this down. 9. 8 times 8 is 64. Subtract, 5 is our remainder. And so our answer would be 38 remainder 5, or 38 and 5/8. Alright, number 2. Can 6 go into 7? Yes, it can. 1 times 6 is 6. Do our subtraction. Bring down our next digit. How many times can 6 go into 16? Without going over, that'd be 2 times 6 is 12. Do our subtraction. 4. 12 remainder 4, or 12 and 4 over 6. Can 2 go into 5? Yes. How many times? 2 times 2 is 4. Do our subtraction. Carry down our next place value. 2 into 19, 9 times. 2 is 18. Do our subtraction. 1, 29, remainder 1, or 29 and a half. Can 7 go into 100 and, sorry, 100, it can. Can 7 go into 1 though? No. 7 times 0 is 0. Do our subtraction. We get 1. Bring the next place value down. 7 into 16 2 times. It's 14. Subtract. Bring down the next place value. 7 times 3 is 21. 6. So the answer would be 23 remainder 6, or 23 and 6 over 7. Can 2 go into 4? Yes. How many times without going over? 2 times 2 is 4. Do the subtraction. 0, 7. How many times can 2 go into 7 without going over? 3 times 2 is 6. Do our subtraction. 1. 23 remainder 1, or 23 and a half. Can 5 go into 8? Yes. How many times? Once. 5 times 1 is 5. We'll do our subtraction. 8 minus 5 is 3. Bring down our next place value. How many times can 5 go into 36? 7 times 5 is 35. 1. So 17 remainder 1, or 17 and 1 over 5. 17 and 1/5. It's a mixed number. Okay, can 7 go into 1? No, it cannot. 7 times 0 is 0. Do our subtraction. Carry down our next place value. Can 7 go into 13? It can go in once. 7, subtract. 6, bring down the next place value. How many times can 7 go into 67 without going over? 9 times 7 is 63. Do our subtraction. 4, so 19 remainder 4, or 19 and 4/7. Can 2 go into 6? Yes. How many times? 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract. 0. Bring down the next place value. How many times can 2 go into 7? 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract 1. That's our remainder. So 33 remainder of 1, or 33 and a half. Last problem, can 7 go into 2? No, it cannot. 7 times 0 is 0. Do the subtraction. 2 minus 0 is 2. Carry down the next place value of 3. How many times can 7 go into 23? 3 times. 7 is 21. Do the subtraction. 2. Carry down the next place value. 3 again. 3 times 7 is 21. Do our subtraction. 5 is our remainder. So 33 remainder 5, or 33 and 5 over 7. Excellent. All right, one more worksheet for the day. Oh, we're going to stay here. We just want to trash that. We'll do some intermediate ones with the remainder. Any good? KDST, thank you for the comment. No. No, sorry. All right, one more worksheet for the day. KDST, though, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave a comment in chat. I'd be glad to help you out. All right, last worksheet here. All right, we're going to use the same methodology that we've been using all day. Again, I'll be going through these problems at a little bit faster of a pace. Feel free to pause the stream, work the problem out yourself, and then see me work through it and solve it and see if we get the same answer, see what methods I use, etc. All right, here we go. Can 18 go into 1? No, it cannot. 0 times 18 is 0. We'll do the subtraction. 1 minus 0 is 1. Carry down the next number. It's 17. It still can't go into that. Subtract 17, and we'll carry down the next place value. How many times can 18 go into 170? That's going to be 9. 9 times 8 is 72. Carry the 7. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 7 is 16. We'll do the subtraction. Get 8 here. Carry down the 4. How many times can 18 go into 84? I'm going to say 4. 4 times 8 is 32. Carry the 3. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So we'll get 12. So the answer would be 94, remainder 12, or 94 and 12 over 18. Alright, so next, 16 into 7, 16. Can 16 go into 7? No, it cannot. 16 times 0 is 0. Do our subtraction. 7 minus 0 is 7. Carry down the next place value. How many times can 16 go into 71? That's going to be 4. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 76. 4 again. 64 again. 12. We'll get 44. Remainder 12, or 44 and 12/16. I'm going to skip the 10 because that's a fairly easy one to do. 17, can 17 go into 1? No, it cannot. 0, subtract 1, carry down the next place value. 11, still can't go into it. 0, do the subtraction, carry down the next place value. How many times can 17 go into 113? Let's say 6 times 7 is 42. Carry the 4. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. And that's 11. 11 is less than 17, so that's good. 116. We'll go with 6 again, which is going to be 102 again, and leave us with a remainder of 14. So our answer is 66 remainder 14, or 66 and 14/17. Number 6, 14 into 7, it can't do that. Do our subtraction, carry down the next place value. 14 into 72. Let's go with 5. That's going to be 70. Carry down our next place value. 14 can go into 29 2 times. 2 times 14 is 28. Do our subtraction, we get 1. So our answer is 52, remainder 1, or 52 and 1/14. 16 into 9 can't happen. Carry down the next place value. 16 times 5 is 80. Do our subtraction. Carry down the next place value. 16 times 7 is 112. Remainder 9. So 57, remainder 9, or 57 and 9/16. 11 can't go into 9. 0 times 11 is 0. Subtract 9. Carry down the next place value. 11 times 8 is 88. Subtract, we'll get 57. And 5 times 11 is 55. So I'll have remainder 2. So the answer is 85. Remainder 2, or 85 and 2/11. 17 into 144. Can 17 go into 1? No, it cannot. Multiply, subtract, and carry down your next place value. Still can't go in. Multiply, subtract, carry down your next place value. 17 into 144. Let's go with 8 times 7 is 56. 5. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5 is 13. Subtract, we'll get 80. 4. 4 times 7 is 28. 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6, and that would be 12. So our answer would be 84, remainder 12, or 84 and 12/17. Alright, so that's going to be it for the stream today. Wanted to do some long division and different subjects. So if you fast forwarded to the end of this video and you just watched the end, I did have some strategies earlier on in the video for doing long division. So rewind in the clip until you see that pop up on the whiteboard. There were about 6 of them that you can use. And I hope that you found this video useful, so please give a thumbs up, subscribe, so that way you know when I go live on YouTube and you can come and ask me your questions. And thanks a lot for the support so far. Alright, see ya.